As the protagonist begins cultivating with the Dragon Soul Crystal, the overwhelming soul power within it starts to strain his soul. His soul begins to ache intensely, and he is clearly in pain. Seeing this, Antares mocks him, and that mockery only fuels his anger. Enraged, he tightly grips the Dragon Soul Crystal and says coldly, "You dare act arrogantly toward me, inside my own spiritual world? If I'm being honest, I could crush you right now." With that, he begins squeezing the Dragon Soul Crystal with all his strength. In response, the crystal releases a surge of powerful soul energy, struggling violently to break free from his grasp. The energy bursts outward, growing more intense by the second. However, his grip does not loosen. Even as the violent clash of power continues, he refuses to let go. After a short while, the Dragon Soul Crystal transforms into a mass of energy and manifests before him. Watching this unfold, Antares is stunned. Seeing that the protagonist has actually succeeded, he exclaims in disbelief, "How is this possible? You're only level 72, yet you can withstand the domineering soul power of the Dragon Soul Crystal." Meanwhile, after absorbing the energy released from the crystal, Lin Moyu slowly opens his eyes. Examining his body, he says in confusion, "Why do I feel like my soul power hasn't increased at all?" Hearing this, Antares becomes slightly irritated and speaks in a serious tone. The law power contained within a 9-colored Dragon Soul Crystal is far too vast. You need accumulation. You need comprehension, only then can you slowly digest it. Upon hearing this, the protagonist nods and says, "I see, taking it slow is fine." At that moment, Antares raises his claw and opens a portal. Then, without warning, he forcefully pushes him toward it, saying, "That's enough. You've already obtained your benefits. Go back to the ancient trial ground. I'm tired." As he is pushed into the portal, he shouts Antares' name, but the moment he enters, he disappears completely. After he leaves, Antares speaks quietly, his tone heavy. "Old man, why did you leave the inheritance to me? Didn't you have someone you preferred more? It's been tens of thousands of years. Even if you gave me the inheritance Dragon Pearl, I won't forgive you so easily. You weren't a good father, and I was never a good son." Then, suddenly, his expression turns fierce as he roars, continuing in a furious voice, "When I get out, I will storm the ancestral land. Whatever you refuse to give me, I'll take it back with my own hands. I will slaughter until the heavens turn upside down, until the galaxy runs red with blood. Even if I have to drown the ancestral land in dragon blood, I won't hesitate." After that, the story shifts directly back to the protagonist's location. He had already teleported there. It was a mountainous region where lightning was constantly crackling across the sky. As soon as he arrived, he observed the environment and said, "Antares' anger has actually affected the entire ancient trial ground. What exactly happened to him? And what is his relationship with that divine dragon?" Then, with a faint smile, he continued, "Forget it. If he wants to tell me, he'll say it himself. Right now, he probably just wants to be alone." Looking ahead, he spotted a group of wind flower-type monsters. A massive number of them were gathered, some large, some small. Seeing them, he said, "As for me, I'll just hunt some monsters and gain a bit of experience first." The moment the wind flowers noticed his presence, they immediately surrounded him from all directions at incredible speed. Watching himself get encircled, the protagonist quickly raised his hand and summoned his skeleton army. Instantly, the entire area was filled with skeleton warriors. Upon receiving his command, they charged forward at full speed, wielding massive swords and axes as they attacked the wind flowers. As soon as they reached the enemies, they unleashed violent blast attacks. However, the moment their axes collided with the wind monsters, the creatures were sent spinning into the air, rapidly rotating as they counterattacked with wind-type assaults. One such wind attack, taking the form of pure energy, pierced straight through a skeleton warrior's chest, destroying it instantly. Seeing his skeleton warrior destroyed and witnessing the monster's powerful attributes, he grew slightly tense and said, "These monsters, their attributes are incredibly strong. Not only can't my berserk strikes cut through them, but they can easily injure my skeleton berserkers." At that moment, a giant windflower, the world-level boss, stood before him. It was level 86, with strength 1,100,000, agility 800,000, spirit 800,000, Constitution, 1,500,000. Its skills included Pollen Explosion, Petal Burst, and Windflower Blood Moon. Its special traits were Dragon Ferocious Armor, 90% reduction in wind-type damage, and 50% reduction in physical damage. The wind monster continued spinning aggressively, preparing its attacks. Observing its attributes, the protagonist muttered to himself, "So it has the whirlwind armor trait, no wonder I can't cut through it." At that moment, the wind monster unleashed powerful wind-type attacks in all directions. Blades of wind shot out rapidly, and any skeleton warriors caught in the attack were sliced apart and destroyed instantly. A large number of his skeleton warriors were wiped out in no time. Watching them fall, he said, "In that case, let's try this." Without hesitation, he summoned the Skeleton King. All the existing skeleton warriors transformed into elemental energy and began gathering in one place. Within moments, the Skeleton King was formed. As soon as it appeared, he immediately ordered it to attack. Hearing the command, the Skeleton King stepped forward, gripping its sword and taking an attack stance. It prepared to use its god-slaying skill, and as soon as the skill was formed, it released it toward the wind monsters. The Skeleton King launched continuous attacks, and its god-slaying strikes cut through every smaller wind monster in its path. However, as their bodies were sliced apart, red flower petals burst out from within them, scattering everywhere. A large number of petals quickly gathered in the area. Every wind monster the Skeleton King cut released these petals, and they all began drifting toward the Skeleton King, surrounding it completely. The moment they surrounded it, all the petals exploded simultaneously. The explosions were incredibly powerful, each individual petal detonating with force. Seeing this, the protagonist was shocked and said, "Those petals, they actually explode." When the explosions subsided, the Skeleton King emerged from the dust. However, cracks had formed across its body, and fragments of bone were breaking off and scattering. Seeing it injured, he exclaimed in shock, "Even the Skeleton King is hurt. The explosive power of those petals is insane." At that moment, the Lick General standing behind raised his staff and used the Legion treatment skill. As the healing power spread, it rapidly restored the Skeleton King. Within moments, it was fully healed and returned to normal. The Skeleton King stood once again in a fighting stance. But immediately, wind monsters rushed in from all directions and began attacking it continuously with wind/type attacks. To defend itself, the Skeleton King activated Absolute Defense. Watching this, the protagonist said, "The Skeleton King has activated Absolute Defense and suppressed them. Now's the chance." As soon as he said this, he activated the Undead Gaze skill. Instantly, a tower made of undead energy rose from the ground. Its doors opened, and a massive eye emerged from within, releasing soul flame attacks toward all the wind monsters in front. All the wind monsters caught in the soul flame began burning and were destroyed. However, as they died, red flower petals continued to emerge from their bodies completely unaffected by the soul flames. Many monsters had already fallen, and as their bodies disappeared, even more red petals rose into the sky. As the petals ascended, they released a crimson energy into the air. Looking up at the sky, the protagonist suddenly grew alarmed and said, "That is Windflower Blood Moon." At that moment, the entire sky had turned red. Even the moon had become completely crimson. The petals had triggered the Windflower Blood Moon skill, releasing a vast red energy across the entire area, turning everything into a blood-red domain. So friends, this is where the video ends. And yes, make sure to comment and tell me which series I should start next, something really good. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.